Good evening, Ape Nation. Guys, what's going on? It is February 3rd, 2022, Thursday evening. AMC today down 3.5%. GME down just under a percentage point, but both have since bounced in after hours. Looks like GME is going to close right around 101.70, and AMC bounced up to 15.18, just about 2% up. Now, we saw this morning, Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to call them, had a terrible earnings report. The market took a sincere dip. We kind of rebounded later in the day, and then Amazon and Snapchat, I guess, crushed it in earnings. So the market has recovered in after hours. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So SPY down, AMC down, GME down, but lots of good news. All right, let's start with AMC. AMC secured a $950 million bond deal to pay down its debt. Aron spoke about this last year. He said, and I will quote him, it's in the article, he wants to refinance some of our debt to reduce our interest expense, push out some debt maturities by several years, and loosen our covenants. And he is following through on that. The man does not have ADD. He sticks to the script. So this is bullish for us, I think. It's going to help by saving money in the long run. So I'm all for this. Now, for GameStop, this, in my opinion, is even more bullish. GameStop launches NFT marketplace on IMMUTABLE, creates a $100 million fund. GameStop has teamed up with IMMUTABLE to launch a marketplace for non-fungible tokens later this year. All right, so let me try to explain this because I'm not a gamer, but I'm going to do my best. So this company, IMMUTABLE, that's based out of Sydney, Australia, they set up the marketplace where all the transactions are done for anything that is turned into an NFT. So if we're talking about skins or uniforms or weapons for a gun, all those things will be done through IMMUTABLE. I just said that this is becoming a lot more consumer friendly now because these type of companies can make it carbon neutral and save a ton in gas fees. They tap into Ethereum and they bundle up thousands of transactions into one Ethereum transaction. And so basically you can go carbon neutral at that point. So this to me is extremely bullish. But you know, I haven't heard anyone say anything about using IMMUTABLE as possibly a marketplace for used games. So the only direct competition to something like that would be Steam. But on Steam, and I'm not a gamer, so I'm not positive on this, I don't believe you can own the games. You just have the rights to play them. But if you were able to have a marketplace for used digital video games, think about how much revenue that could generate. You'd be in direct competition to Steam. You could now get games cheaper and just by waiting a little bit. I think the potential here is huge. So that basically covers the meme stocks this morning, everything that happened today. Let's move on to my favorite people at the Federal Reserve. But before we do that,
cue the speeders.
okay, guys, real quick, before we jump into the Fed, a week from today, February 10th, 8:30 a.m., CPI data is released. I think that's going to be important to keep an eye on going forward for the market, at least momentarily, just to see which way we're going to trend leading up to the first rate hike. All right, so I'm lying in bed the other night, and I'm watching YouTube, and this video comes across my queue. I do not have a subscription to this channel. It's called Problem with Jon Stewart. It's his podcast. And John is interviewing the former president and CEO of the Kansas City Federal Reserve, Thomas Hoenig.
How much currency that has been sort of created out of thin air has been added into this economy through the Fed? What would you put as a figure? Would it be 6 trillion? Is that too much?
It would be, 6 trillion in terms of deposits with the banks and currency, be 6 to 7 trillion.
Okay. That they're just injecting into it sort of out of nothing.
Out of nothing. They're the central bank of the United States. Now think about it. The central bank of the United States is the only institution on earth that can create dollars and pay for assets out of nothing.
It's alchemy. They're Rumpelstiltskin.
Well, yes, in that sense, yes. And they've been given that authority by the Congress of the United States for purposes of dealing with crises, for example.
So you guys who have been with me for a while know that I've talked about this in the past. The Federal Reserve has three main functions: keep unemployment down, keep inflation down, and make sure if there are any crises, they can step in to help out. Now, there are different opinions on the job the Federal Reserve has done on that, but they're going to next touch on the dollar itself and how it is based on faith alone. We talked about it the other night, what Jordan Belfort said. So let's see how they finish up.
So when I think about the fundamentals of the banking system, it makes sense to me. You have a central clearinghouse that their business model is, I'm going to trust you with my savings. You're going to give me interest on that. And you're going to make a little money on that by loaning that money out to somebody else for a little bit more money.
Right.
It's a business model that makes sense.
Right.
When we start to get into, I'm printing money to buy bonds to artificially keep those interest rates low, it makes less sense. So it's hard for me when sometimes the rules of the Fed are explained. It's a little like saying, yes, you can levitate, but you cannot spin around. Do you know what I mean? It all seems sort of fake.
Well, it's a fiduciary system. It's all faith-based, right?
Oh, my Lord.
Yes, you got to have confidence in that currency, in that dollar, because there's nothing backing. There's no gold backing.
So it's in some ways, it's a mass delusion.
Well, that's a harsh word, but so long as you have faith, yes. Well, you might see it today,
right?
In terms of, with all this printing, you see these cryptocurrencies, these bitcoins,
right?
Which are basically virtual currencies.
And faith-based.
And faith-based.
So there's two main reasons why I pulled that clip for you guys. First of all, I wanted to get a number and get that number out to you guys about how much money has possibly been printed that is backed by nothing by the Federal Reserve since about 2010. And the other reason was, and that number, by the way, was 6 to 7 trillion. The other reason was I really wanted to drive home the point on how faith-based our money system is. The only reason the dollar is respected right now across the world is because everybody has to use it in order to buy commodities, and because we will blow you up if you decide you won't take it. Look what happened to Gaddafi. He wanted to put it back on a gold system, and he's no longer with us. So it's really important that we understand how this needs to be fixed immediately. We can't let this spin out of control anymore. Now, this next clip I'm going to show you is from Glenn Beck. Now, I understand Glenn Beck comes with some controversy. This $6 to $7 trillion figure, now suddenly 12 years later, we seem to be coming up with a different number, and it's not what you might think. It's nowhere close to 6 or 7.
So, $1 trillion, what, 6? $1.5 trillion. That's what they said they spent. Then the Fed said, we have to, purchase things like mortgage bonds. So we're just adding money, but it's on our books. We're just going to print and digitize some money, and we're just going to buy some stuff, okay, from the banks. So they already had almost $1 trillion from us, the taxpayer, and then the Fed said we're going to do $3.5 trillion to the banks. Okay, that's what they told us. Small problem with those official numbers. They're complete and total bullcrap. Levy Economics Institute is the one that got the FOIA, and they have the findings. And let me give you the truth of what the Fed did. Between 2000...
Okay, now I got to break in here for a second because I have been trying for the past 3 days to find where Glenn Beck got this data from. To the point where I've called the Levy Institute of Economics in New York and gotten in touch with a couple people there to find out how I can get a copy of this. Now, FOIA is a Freedom of Information Act. What happened was back in 2010 or 2012, Levy Economics Institute asked to see where the bailout money had gone, how much of it had been printed, and basically, or digitized, and basically the Federal Reserve, after being FOIA'd, told the Supreme Court, it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and told the Supreme Court they're going to need 10 years because the data is so sensitive. Well, those 10 years are up, and apparently the FOIA request has gone through. Now, I haven't heard back from the people I have contacted at Levy Economics Institute. I don't have an answer from them yet as far as when the paper is going to be out or available to the public. She did say that other people had called, and she put me on a list of other people who are looking for this. I'm not the only one. So what I will say is the numbers he's about to say, you got to take them with a grain of salt.
2008 and 2010, the Fed bailed out the banks. Now, they said they'd give $3.5 trillion. Well, Citigroup, it's almost nationalizing Citigroup. Citigroup got $2.5 trillion. Morgan Stanley got $2 trillion. Merrill Lynch got $1.9 trillion. Bank of America got $1.3 trillion. But that's not all. We bailed the world out to the tune, you want to know why they needed 10 years? To the tune of $29 trillion. They digitized $29 trillion and didn't tell you a damn thing about it.
Okay, guys, so unfortunately, we're out of time tonight. I can't go any further with this. We're already going on 12 minutes, and I know you guys like the video short, but this is a little concerning to me, and I can't verify any of the numbers he just gave out. Like I said, I'm waiting to hear back from the Levy Institute right now. Hopefully, I'll hear from them tomorrow, and I can give you guys an update. I hope that these numbers are way inflated, and they're actually quite closer to 6 or 7 trillion, not 29. 29 trillion would be an abomination, because where did all that money go? They didn't give it back to the people who are losing their houses. They gave it to the banks and the mortgage companies. The people lost their houses. The bank got their money. All right. That's it for tonight. Guys, as always, thank you for all of the views, the likes, the comments, my new subscribers, my OGs. I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.